Oh man, I mean, this was this was like the Sunday night movie. uh, San Antonio Spurs, Tony Parker and Brent Berry, his own teammate. Uh, this was one of the most shocking of all to the outside world because unless you was in the NBA, you really didn't know Tony Parker except for what you saw on TV. He was one of the first NBA players. Not even Michael Jordan was profiled with their relationship as much as Tony Parker and Eva Longoria. He was married to a woman who was basically just as famous as he was. So here's this couple together on television all the time. You didn't see them not being together, like, period. They were always locked at the hip, pictures, photographs, the Emmys. No NBA player ever had this much coverage of their relationship in the history of the game. Tony Parker and Eva Longoria they broke all barriers. No couple in basketball history, and I'm talking about the Jordans, the LeBrons, more famous than Tony Parker. They were internationally darlings. Him playing in the French league and having all this international appeal. They had their wedding in Paris. They were celebrities. And this is in 2007. They had just won their third NBA championship in 6 years. And they were basically the dynasty of the 2000 era. And here it is. He's marrying. It's like a storybook. Like, he's marrying the supermodel actress, Eva Longoria. It's a match made in heaven. They just eat this up on television. So, things after the wedding, things slow down. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sensationalize anything. But in the first 2 years of the marriage are the hardest. And this is coming from a guy who's never been married, but have friends and family who have been married. And watching and everything that's going on, it's like I know almost everything that happens in the household of a married couple. Like, things that you wouldn't, because you basically are single, these things don't care to you, means a whole lot in a marriage. And these things could lead to disaster and people being unhappy and making other people miserable. You just want out. But sometimes you feel, I'm stuck. I've been here too long. Leaving is a fantasy. This was, I say, 2000. Let me see, 2007. He got married in 2007. 2007. He's getting a call. And she's like, who was you talking to? And he's talking in French. So she's like, who are you talking to in French? He was like, oh, this is my friend back in France. Like, she's got a whole bunch of problems going on with her marriage. And she's like talking to me about it and all this. She's like, and she feels the need to talk to you. He's like, well, the time difference over in Paris, France, and so she believed it. And come to find out, this lady was very well connected, had some other things. We won't go into that, but long story short, Tony and her started hooking up. They met at his wedding. At the wedding reception. But they kept it under wraps because she could speak French. Next thing you know, he got caught about a year later with a girl from Facebook. A girl from Facebook who hit him up. And I think that was in '08 or '09. I'm like, Facebook? You get caught up with a chick from Facebook? You Tony Parker. So, what she did was, they had a talk, and, because it would have been embarrassing. They were internationally loved. Now, the problem is with their relationship, which I don't really like to go into, but since it's been over and they've been divorced, this is what the problem was. And going into this, they should have known that it's going to be hard. If to be an NBA wife, there are going to be certain requirements that the husband's going to want the wife to do. He's going to want you to be at certain games showing support. They understand you got a show to do. You got a hit show on your hand. And the requirements are a little different. So you got to be there to do your shoots. Then you got to fly out. And they might have to call you back for a reshoot for something that you did 3 weeks ago. And television is a lot more strenuous than just filming a movie. Everyone should know that. So having a traveling husband going to city to city to city, she felt like I need to be there with him sometimes so he don't think like it's comfortable for him to start doing something, especially after the Facebook thing. So she'll pop up. She was at the shows, flying back and forth. So those 2 years is taking a toll on her. And then he starts showing up on the set, showing support and doing all this, like, I'm with you, baby. And at this time, Brent Barry, who's on the team, was good friends with Tony because of his wife. She knew Tony Parker. And they all clicked right away. And once they clicked, and started talking, they all hung out at Besso's, which is her restaurant that she had, and they had New Year's dinner there. They were basically inseparable, and it was good for their image. And what happened was Rick Barry's wife, they were actually going through the same problems that Tony and his wife was going through. And the fact is that Tony was like, I don't know how, this could be. They're going back and forth talking about, the relationship and the problems and how she's so demanding and blah, blah, blah. Let's put it this way. Once Barry's wife, who was texting, and see, here's the thing, Brent never knew any of this was going on. Brent didn't know what was going on. Hold on 1 second, my family's texting me. Well, anyway, Aaron and, they started to rely on each other more and more, like texting each other. Tony Parker and Aaron, and, the texts were supportive of each other, and Tony's complimenting her, and she's complimenting Tony. And they never hooked up, But Brent Berry didn't know what was going on. They had just went to shoot-arounds and everything, and the whole time in shoot-arounds, he in there texting the wife, his wife. And the whole time he was texting, he thinking he's texting his own wife. He's texting Brent Berry's wife. And what happened was she figured out that he had a passcode. You know, Tony had a passcode on his phone, and he would change it from time to time. And she would never know, and she don't look at his phone anyway. She just like, we don't have trust, you know, blah, blah, blah. But she knew. She just like, well, let me see. So she went through his passcode, and it was changed. So she just put the phone back down. And was like, oh, he changed the passcode. So she started thinking of stuff like, what could this fool passcode be? Okay, last time it was this, last time it was that. So she knows him. And she guessed the passcode. Because all he did was go back to an older passcode that he had before. And when she pulled it up, cling, it unlocked. So when it unlocked, there it was. She's going through his phone. And she's reading all the texts, all their business this woman knows, and she's talking about their business with them. She's like, what is this? And he was like, you went through my phone? You know, like, how did you get in my phone? So she threw the phone at him. She's screaming, trying to fight him in the house. And he's like, trying to keep it quiet. Because just a week ago, he had just signed a contract. Just signed his 4-year deal with the San Antonio Spurs that they was negotiating. The ink wasn't even dry on the contract. And he's telling her, you're going to make a big mess out of this. And she's like, that's it. I can't deal with this no more. I'm out. You want another player's wife? So she was like, what is your problem? And this and that. And you don't understand. We just friends. We just talking to each other. So all of this stuff started to come out between Brent, because she called Brent Berry, and first she called the wife, the house, and just blew up on Aaron, and you died, and she's all over the phone. And Brent Berry gets on there, and Brent's like, what's going on? And you better start telling me right now. And she's like, check your wife's phone. Tell her to show you the text. And he's like, she don't have any text messages. And Brent's like, what's going on, Aaron? What did you do? So Brent all of a sudden starts blowing up, because him and his wife had problems too. And it was kind of similar to what they're going on. But by her being with Tony Parker, you know, Aaron and Brent had their own problems in the household, you know. She didn't like Brent's temper. He's more of a Midwestern style guy and low key. She wanted to be out and about, you know, and hanging around the Parkers, you know, that was going to make that desire even grow. You know, she liked being out in the public, and she's in the press, you know, they look at talking about her dress and how they look. She wanted to wear these nice outfits and him in these nice suits. But Brent Berry is okay wearing some Wranglers or Lee jeans and some boots with a flannel shirt. You know, that's the kind of guy he is, you know. He's a Midwestern guy, you know, some jogging suit, gym shoes type, you know, that's it. That's what Brent liked. But now that the Parkers are around and seeing how they dress when they go out, and she, you know, like, wow, why do we need to do this just on special occasions? Like, they get dressed up just to go out. You know, she wanted to be in that limelight. And, you know, Tony was the man at the time with the contract. So she's thinking big dreams. You know, like, she wasn't like I need you to support me. You know, she was going to get her law degree. You know, she wanted to be a lawyer. But as life hits you in the forehead sometimes, things happen. And Brent just got mad. They got a house in the Midwest. He went out there, took the kids, left, because they were borderline divorcing anyway, because they were growing apart. And this just made it the gap. Like, she really has short patience with him. You know, and this is now for to put their relationship on the front line. So now that everything's leaking out, the paparazzi know bits and pieces. Everybody's filing for divorce at the same time. So they start piecing together stories and saying, oh yeah, this is what's going down. So now the paparazzi have it before the actual news have it. Now the actual news got to catch up to the paparazzi. So now everything is starting to come out. And the San Antonio Spurs don't like that their company, their brand, their name is on the front lines. Every time somebody turn around and look at a piece of paper, it says right there, San Antonio Spurs. And that's when they had to talk with Tony, and they said, look, this is bad. And Popovich was like, if you didn't sign the contract last week, I would have traded you. Flat out told Tony Parker, we don't tolerate that. We have a zero tolerance with that. So he's like, I want to know right now, did you sleep with that man's wife? Because if you slept with his wife, I will make a way to find a way to have you traded. I don't like it. And Brent Barry just completely opted out of his contract. You know, he was granted to be opted out. You know, so that was that. Him and Tony never spoke again. Never spoke to Tony Parker again. Tim Duncan was disgusted with him. And was like, I'm disappointed because you're not the guy who I thought you were. So once that happened, he was just like, I don't trust you. You know, a lot of players on the team was kind of like, you're on your own with this thing. And results is, you know, after the abuse and how this was all blown up, Spurs had to just deal with it. But Ava and Tony had to, you know, they didn't have any children, so it was easier for them to split than it was the Barrys. Barrys was, you know, it was a different situation. Brent Barry wanted to fight Tony Parker, naturally, because he's like, did you sleep with him? If you sleep with him, he's a dead man. But no, it never came to that. You know, Popovich talked to both of them. And Popovich said, I don't like what he did at all either. He said, if it's up to me, I'll still try to find a way to get him out of here. But he signed a 4-year deal, and we can't get anything for him. Nobody's going to take that money for Tony Parker right now. And they tried. Oh, buddy, did they try. Because Popovich really still didn't like him after he found out the situation. And then he finally admitted to his wife because he was in denial for like years. And then like about a year later, they just decided to have a talk. And he basically told her like, you know, it's my fault. You know, I have like these issues, like, you know, he's wants wild sex and he's up on porn sites late at night. You know, so, and he's just like, I don't know. It's just like, when I was young, I've been a fast women, fast cars, you know, and just that kind of life. He was just like, I don't know why I'm attracted to it. You know, I'm getting help. I'm growing up now and this and that, but she was just disgusted by it. Like, that's what you want your life to be like? You want to just go around chasing other people and wild sex in the middle of the night? Like, Tony Parker was out there. Like, he was telling her, like, it was going down. Like, if he went up overseas, oh, forget about it. It was going down. So I was like, man, the French was getting down. Tony, they got a little bit more discreetness though about themselves. So for here, Tony wasn't used to the paparazzi and the media coverage being the way it was on the breakup and all this stuff, and it made it impossible for him to move. So he was getting help because the Spurs got him a specialist, somebody he could talk to, and they made it look like a marriage counselor thing, but it was actually because he had a problem with, he had like a sex addiction, and that's how that went. So now you know the truth behind all of this. And oh yeah, let me put this in there as a disclaimer. All of this is alleged. We don't know who divorced who. We don't know if they married still. We don't know any of it. All this just got made up in my mind as I went along. Okay, there we go. Alright, if it relates to anybody that's living or dead, it's just pure coincidence. I'm out.